I served this country, and now I eat alone in silence." The words were barely more than a whisper, yet they struck Nurse Emily like a slap. She had just passed room 212, the one everyone avoided. Inside sat a frail old man, hunched over a tray of untouched food, staring blankly out the window. No one else paid him any mind. To the rest of the staff, he was just Mr. Dalton, the cranky, bitter veteran who hadn't had a visitor in years. He grumbled, refused physical therapy, and once threw his cane at an aide for turning off the TV. "He's impossible," they all said. "Best to let him be." But Emily couldn't. Something about him called to her. She started small, brought an extra blanket when his shoulders shivered, swapped out his peas for pudding when no one was looking. He never thanked her, never even looked her in the eye. But she noticed the twitch of his lip when she smiled, the way his hand steadied a little when she adjusted his pillow. One morning, while changing his bandages, she spotted the faded tattoo on his forearm. Bravo 6, Hanoi, 1972. Her breath caught. "You were in Vietnam?" she asked gently. He didn't answer right away. Then, with eyes far away, he muttered, "38th Infantry. Lost half the unit, buried one of them with my own hands." Emily didn't speak. She just nodded, letting the silence hold space for a pain too deep for words. That night she returned to his room during her break and told him about her grandfather, 22nd Airborne, same war, same silence. "He made it back," she said softly, "but not whole." Mr. Dalton glanced at her, then really looked. For the first time in weeks, he said her name. The next few days, the stories came slowly. Tales soaked in jungle rain, in blood and gunfire, in nights too quiet to sleep. He told her about Jimmy, the radio man who never got to send his last message, about the medal he got for bravery, and how he threw it in a drawer because bravery didn't bring his friends home. Emily listened. No clipboard, no judgment, just heart. Veterans Day arrived with barely a mention. A flyer on the wall, a cheap sticker, a cafeteria meal with lukewarm hot dogs. Mr. Dalton sat alone, same table, same silence. Emily's stomach turned. This man had fought for the very ground they walked on, and this was how they honored him. That night off the clock, she went home and got to work. The next morning, she walked into his room with a carefully wrapped cloth. "I brought something," she said. She laid the bundle on his lap and slowly unfolded it. Inside was a handmade shadow box, his medals polished to a shine, his unit patch framed, and beneath it a handwritten note. "You are not forgotten." His hands trembled as he touched it. Tears welled in eyes that hadn't cried in decades. "All this time," he whispered, voice cracking, "I thought I was invisible." Emily knelt beside him. Not anymore. From that day forward, everything changed. Word spread. Staff started asking him questions, wanting to hear his stories. Residents began pulling up chairs at his table. A local reporter caught wind and ran a feature. "The veteran in room 212. Letters poured in from old comrades' families. A nearby school invited him to speak on what it meant to come home and still feel left behind. The once-forgotten man in the corner became a voice people leaned in to hear. One afternoon, Emily found him standing proudly in his faded uniform, medals pinned tight to his chest, hair combed, shoes shined. "Got a speech to give," he grinned, adjusting his collar. "Apparently, I'm a hero now." Emily smiled through tears. "You always were. They just forgot to tell you." Mr. Dalton passed away a year later, peacefully, in his sleep, surrounded by letters, medals, and the honor he thought he'd lost. His funeral was full, veterans, staff, students, strangers who'd read his story. A boy in a scout uniform stood beside his casket and saluted. The facility named a wing after him, Dalton Hall, for those who deserve to be remembered. Every year on Veterans Day, Nurse Emily visits his plaque. She doesn't bring flowers. She brings a single butterscotch candy and places it beside his name. Because that's what he loved. Because she remembers. And because sometimes all it takes is one person. One heart willing to look past the gruffness, past the silence, into the soul of someone aching to be seen. Emily didn't just change his final years, she rewrote his legacy. Before we end this story, let us know in the comment where are you watching from. If this story touched you, subscribe to the channel and hit that like button and drop a karma in the comments below.